All right, so let's talk about some news articles I thought were interesting. This I was very interested to read. I've heard some comments about this before, and this was the clearest explanation. They say that investors are forcing all these tech companies to have these mass layoffs, and they explain why. It's actually the law. The U.S. accounting rules, if you are a corporation, you are forced to publish your financial statistics, and the board of directors and investors read that. And the official rules for the statistics regard employees as a cost center. They are not treated as an asset. So it is employees and employee morale, and retaining trained employees is not considered to be of any value. They are just seen as an expense, and so you make your balance sheet look better by firing employees to cut that expense. So this is arguably a flaw in the accounting laws, because some companies, like I think some Japanese company, just said, we're having declined revenue, so we're going to give people a raise and not fire anybody because we want to keep the people around so that we won't lose all that knowledge, which I think would certainly be true in Silicon Valley too. And this is very interesting. They're required to use these generally accepted accounting principles, but those principles are what does not consider employees to have any value. They pretend that you can just buy fresh employees like light bulbs and replace them, which is of course not true, because your employees that have been there longer have knowledge that's useful to the company. So this is interesting, and that may be what you really have to do, is change the financial accounting standards. Anyway, that's an interesting explanation. It makes more sense than the ones I've heard before. Everybody's laying people off, and they all claim they're being forced to by their investors. So
just look at Disney company.
What's that?
Just look at the Disney company.
Disney, yeah.
If the stock going down, and then change the CEO, you restart the dividend pay, and then the stock go up.
That's right. That's right. So I mean, it would make more sense to adjust their pay rather than laying people off. Anyway, so in Daly City, just a mile or two away from where we are, there was a decade-long human trafficking ring, bringing in people from the Philippines, lying to them, and selling them off into various forms of indentured servitude. Those are the people that ran it. So I hear a lot about human trafficking, and it's rare that you find out about how it's working right around your hometown, but this is how it's been working near San Francisco for the last 10 years. So they caught those people for it. This also is not a surprise, although I guess it might be to some people. Some people imagine that characters like Elon Musk are very intelligent, and I certainly would not think so. I mean, they're above average, but I mean, they studied this, after about one standard deviation, further gains in intelligence really don't make you earn more money, and the very rich are not any smarter. I would certainly think so. I do not think that raw intelligence contributes to your wealth. I think they say one standard deviation up to an IQ of, say, 110 is correlated with wealth, but more wealth beyond that is not correlated with intelligence, because I don't think it's intelligence that makes you get super rich. It's other things like social skills and having inherited money and things like that. Anyway, it's interesting. I think especially in Silicon Valley, there is this belief that we have a technocracy and a meritocracy, and that all these rich tech people are better than other people and deserve it, just like in previous generations they would believe that nobility have superior genes, and that's why they get all the wealth, because they are a superior race. And I think in both cases it's very unwarranted to say that. I didn't know about this. Somebody took, I think astronomers or something, just looked in the sky and found these pattern of green lasers shot over Hawaii. There's a video of it. And they thought it must be some satellite doing it. They thought it was a NASA satellite, and it is apparently, I think, a Chinese satellite. They've got a video of it shining these green lasers, and this turns out to be, by fusing the trajectory, it wasn't a NASA satellite, it was a Chinese satellite, I think. Yeah, China's Daqi-1 satellite. And it's an atmospheric environment monitoring satellite, so it does shoot lasers into the air to measure how much reflects back to monitor something about the air, although the part I did not understand is the lasers are infrared. They quote the wavelength here, 1572 nanometers. If that's correct, that is not green light, that is far infrared. So I don't understand how there could be green light. Anyway, maybe this should say 572, which I think would be green. Anyway, so that's interesting. You wouldn't expect a laser from a satellite to be bright enough to just detect with normal cameras and stuff, but apparently it is. All right, so there was recently a demonstration of Google's competitor to OpenGPT, which was Bard, and I saw it, and what somebody else pointed out after it came out was it was wrong. Yeah, what's up?
I think they maybe probably put in an extra one in front of it.
That's right, that was my thought. They put an extra one in front of the wavelength, yeah. Anyway, so I asked this question to demonstrate it. They asked, like, what did you tell a child about the James Webb Telescope to get them interested in astronomy? And they said the James Webb Telescope was the first telescope to take a picture of an exoplanet, and that turns out to be false. There was another telescope that took a picture like 10 years ago of an exoplanet, so they're pointing out that even Google's demonstration of it, it gets things wrong, which is like OpenGPT. I mean, OpenGPT sounds good, but when you fact check it, a lot of what it tells you is wrong, because all it's doing is taking like 10 random websites and averaging what it found on there. Yeah.
James Webb is already broken, right? It's just like very recently.
James Webb is broken?
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything about that. That's rude. I thought it was fine.
No, it's just very recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. If James Webb is broken, that's really bad. I know it got hit by a meteorite, but it didn't hurt it much, like 2 months ago.
They need to do repair.
Oh, it needs repair. Wow. That's awful. It's in a bad place to repair. Anyway, there's a new thing called liquid neural nets, which they based on a worm's nervous system, and these are more closely neural nets, more closely resembling biological systems. And what they did was they take the neurons and connect them to other neurons with nonlinear equations. And those equations were very difficult to solve, but they learned that even an approximate solution will work. And the approximate solution can be calculated very fast. So they were able to make neural networks that learn much faster. And this has been, the science fiction dream for 50 years, is that you'll make an artificial brain that works like our brain, because our brains are amazingly powerful and they're made out of amazingly weak components. I mean, neurons take milliseconds to respond. So we run at less than 1 kilohertz of a clock rate, and yet do amazing things like catch a ball and drive a car and stuff. So this is a new way to get closer to biological learning, so that may turn out to be good. There's a lot of news about the prostitution in San Francisco and Los Angeles that's getting out of hand, and apparently this is because there was a recent change in the law. You used to be able to arrest somebody who was just acting provocative and wearing provocative clothing in public without proving that they were engaging in prostitution. And that law was overturned, saying this is going to punish innocent people. And that's the issue. I mean, they apparently were grabbing people for suspicion of prostitution because, of course, proving they're actually doing prostitution is much more difficult. So anyway, this is related to the other laws, like they don't punish criminals who steal more or less than $1,000 from stores anymore in San Francisco, so there's an incredible problem with shoplifting. Yeah?
James Webb Space Telescope has been permanently damaged
What?
July 20, 2022.
Right, July 20, 2020. That was when they were first putting it out. Right, that's 6 months ago, right? Yes, I knew about that. It was hit by a meteorite, which it put some damage in one mirror, but not enough to matter. Yeah. But it was more than they expected. Yeah, so nothing new. Yeah. All right, good. Anyway, so North Korea had a parade, and they demonstrated their ICBMs, and they have something like 12 of them, and each of them can have 4 warheads, so that would be enough that they could punch through our missile defenses. And so we've been watching this coming. This is what Obama told Trump when Trump went into office. Trump refused to meet with Obama for the traditional exchange of power briefings. He refused to prepare to be president at all. But Obama had a meeting with him where Trump just pretty much ignored him. But what Obama told him was 2 things. He told him North Korea is the most dangerous thing in the world. It should be your #1 focus. And you should never trust General Flynn because he's insane. And Trump appointed Flynn on the National Security Council, and he didn't really do much good with North Korea. But anyway, it has happened. North Korea keeps building more and more nuclear weapons, and they've been demonstrating the rockets, and people are more and more concerned that North Korea could successfully make a nuclear attack on America. And nobody knows if they're crazy enough to do it, but they might. So anyway, all right. And I think that's enough of this. Let me stop this.